here we go. Hello and welcome. Greetings and welcome to you bravest citizens of our new world. It is I, once again, unfortunately, Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Dr. Tarawad, coming to you live from our new lair 5.0, getting back into the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition with our wonderful, wonderful A-team. Hell yeah.
Whoa. I'm excited.
Hello, everybody who's in the chat, the few of you. Of course, we have our returning intrepid adventurers going down the list here. Of course, we've got Cassie D20 Love Chew coming in playing Cyace's Blue Leaf, our Banshee Bard.
Hello everybody, it's me. How are you doing? I missed you. It's been a while. I've been very busy and not in the country, but I'm back.
Yeah, you were visiting family in like Minnesota.
Yeah, the
Minnesota.
Minnesota, the Canada of America.
Wow.
It's not
That's
wrong.
what they say.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, because you were telling me like you're gonna go visit some extended family down in Minnesota, and I was like, please be careful. America is a nightmare, and you were like, no, it's fine. It's just Minnesota, and I was like, oh, okay, but still though.
Yeah. No,
Just in
everybody
general.
was super nice. Too few people wearing masks, but otherwise everybody was really nice.
Yep. That
Yep.
is absolutely going to be a thing that happens, especially in
Sounds
places
like
like
Canada.
Minnesota. But yes, welcome back. So good to have you here. Of course,
Thank
we've got,
you.
of course, returning as well. We've got our other streamer out here, Spooty Poots, on
Spooty Poots?
twitch.tv/SpootyPoots, playing Envrail Olo, our Yuan T paladin.
Yeah. Hi, I'm excited to be back. I haven't streamed
Hold
in
on.
like a month.
Whoa.
I was just like, ooh, I'm gonna go button, I'm gonna push it. So yeah, it's been so good to have you back here. This has been a long time coming, and I've been really excited to get back into it. I apologize if there's a lot of, I'm gonna say technical difficulties, but
I believe the
getting
last
into
time
it.
I believe the last time I streamed at all was the last time we played D&D.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you the same thing I've been telling everybody, because a lot of people out in the community right now have been having difficulty kind of finding the time or the energy to stream, and that's just, just do what you can.
Yeah.
Stream whenever you're able. Don't push yourself. Do it because it's fun.
Yeah. It's mental health stuff is important.
Heck yeah. And of course, bringing in some wonderful people from other communities, we've got the Killing Chick, aka KC, playing our grung frog person druid, Floop.
Surface moss. Wow.
There it is.
Every time she sees surface moss.
What a time to be alive.
Well,
Yeah. Also
time
very
to be
happy
alive.
to be back. Still having a bit of mommy nauseous, but it's bearable.
Hey man, as long as it works and you're being safe and you're doing what you can, then that's all we can ask, right?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And then of course we've got our good buddy Warden coming in playing Keeper, our Thrycreen monk.
It is great to be back. It's been a while, and I'm very looking forward to this. Hello, everybody.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, dude. Always happy to have you here. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, we've got playing our Goblin Artificer, Zax Triar, a one Shaskar.
I've flipped over the rock that I was sleeping under, and I've returned.
Huzzah! Hey man, that's how it be sometimes. Actually, Warden has like the most correct version of that because I've been apparently misquoting this, and I need to make an adjustment.
Which one?
That's how it be sometimes. Sometimes it do be
Oh.
like that.
People think it'd be like it's some. Fuck, it's so garbled
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's
Sometimes people think it'd be
nonsensical.
like it is, but it do. People.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes people don't think it be like it is, but it do.
What it do?
It do be like that.
They do.
They don't think it'd be like it is, but it do. Okay, I had it right the first time.
Yeah. Uh, do not worry about it. But yeah, when last we left our intrepid adventurers here, they had made their way to the dwarven kingdom of Vrogakal, far to the western shores in the mountains. They had made their way out there with an exiled dwarven engineer by the name of Garrick Stonetooth, who the party then learned was actually by the name of Garrick Steamhaft, which he had to give up his name when he was exiled from his kingdom. He was exiled because he had sort of drawn up plans and designs and was attempting to push through the production of a metal-based steamship, which the rest of the Dwarven Engineering Guild and a lot of the other politicians within Vraugakal had dictated would be too dangerous to put out, not because it would harm their own people, but because every time they put a new technology out into the world, they have to worry about the humans and the elves and other races taking that technology, making adjustments to it, and then potentially threatening other people and themselves. The introduction of black powder to the human world was something that they were very, very careful to do, and even then, many of them still regret bringing that technology out. The party, though, is needing to get to the Living Mountains, an island far off to the west, a lot farther than the map would let you believe. And they need a ship to do that, and so they've decided to employ this dwarven engineer, convinced him to go home, fought for him in court, and now are in the process of actually assisting in the construction of the ship itself. You guys were let's bring us down into the kingdom propter. Bam.
Propter indeed.
And propter kingdom. There we go. Within the kingdom, you guys have actually been doing a pretty good job helping out. Zax has been with the engineers, mostly in an observational capacity, but on occasion, Garrick has actually been giving you not necessarily busy work, but like when he makes a certain type of plating or rivet or whatever, then he'll show you the process and then ask you to reproduce it. And if you can to a certain quality standard, then he just lets you do that. Otherwise, he often has you just like fetching things or getting tools because you know the names of some of the tools, and other business like that. So he's been sort of giving you very apprentice work, but you do get the feeling that this is, especially considering you're a greenskin. Zax also has much smaller hands.
I have much bigger hands.
Yeah, that
You can get into spaces and stuff like that maybe a dwarf might not be. Can you reach into there and grab that? Like give that a little
the dwarves absolutely don't build anything they can't themselves make adjustments to. But he it is still considered to be like a big gesture, him allowing you to be present while he's doing this work and involving you in the work at all. Not only because you're not a dwarf, but because you are greenskin or Groby. He having you be there and sort of observing you absorbing this knowledge is sort of like part and parcel with what he's up to.
Yeah, and especially considering I've got that third extra hand to help me work with stuff.
Yeah, some of the other engineers ask you about it on occasion, asking to see if there's like potentially a way for you to show like how it works, or if there's just like the ins and outs of it, like if they can inspect it, if it comes off and still moves, what it's powered by, like stuff like that.
Yeah, and I, with their inquisiting, I would show them about it and show that it can be autonomous if it needs to be.
Yeah, like and a lot of it is questions about like, how is it functioning? What's it powered by? When you give it instructions and it is autonomous, how smart is it? Where does that intelligence come from? Like, is it an extension of you, or is it like, does it have its own agency kind of situation? They get into a lot of like the nitty gritty. Some of them take notes. They sort of did like it's all very academic, but this is always in like break time is the only time that they really find themselves asking about stuff while they're gulping down some of the food and snacks and stuff that are brought in by Floop and Sciaces, the two of you were unfortunate enough to meet up with the the dwarves who were working in the shopping quarter. The two bakers, Mama Mum, the more traditional baker, and Nakrith, her grandson, who owns a bakery literally across the road with more modern and engineering baking techniques. You guys got your hands on some coffee and other drinks, some biscuits and bread that Mama Mum made, very traditional bread. Yeah.
Actually, Floop would have made a detour before coming back to a butchery.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are you looking for specifically out of the butchery?
A very fine and large piece of raw meat.
Ooh.
Okay.
Something highly nutritious and good for, it has a lot of energy into it.
Oh yeah. If you go to like literally just down the street from where the bakeries are, there's like a number of other places where you can find different foods, cheeses, and a number of things. There is one place that is selling different kinds of meat, and they have some dry aged beef that they can give you. And the guy when he sells it to you even offers to slice it down.
She's like, no, a giant chunk is basically what I need.
Just like a big old slab of beef.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
For a gold piece, he's willing to give you a whole side of beef that's dry and aged.
Yeah, she grabs it and she thanks him and pays him, and she just waddles with it.
Oh god, epic short story narrators come by. It has been 25 hours. I have returned to check on your vibes. Please line up and have your vibe check. Line skippers shall be shot. Survivors will be shot again. Do not tempt me. It is a no bones day. Anything is possible.
Wow.
Well, everyone line up, vibe check.
Vibe check. Everybody. Vibe check.
I'm vibing here.
Vibe
Oh,
check.
yeah. I'm definitely vibing.
I'm vibing.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
vibing. I'm vibing. I'm vibing.
Vibe check. It's substitute my vibe's good. Yeah, everybody's doing pretty good.
There we go.
But welcome. Do come in. You guys are adorable.
My vibes are clean, my plants are watered, my skin moisturized.
I'm in my lane.
Mom
It's
spaghetti.
fine. Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti.
Floop, as you return with this large side of beef, the guard who's been sort of following you around, the military liaison who's been walking with you, offers to come along with you. Thank you for the follow, Entiki and Short Story Narrator. He offers to carry the beef for you, so that as you're going around, like you don't have to, because it is entirely too large for you to carry. So
She will give him a big smile. Oh, thank you. You're so strong.
he like gives you a nod and kind of awkwardly smiles. He's not sure how to interact with you, really. You're a frog person. He's never seen any of you before. So he's just like, oh yes, of course.
I'm still at the boat, right? Like this was Floop's little journey, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
Floop's adventure with Siaces. They both kind of separately
okay.
went to the shopping district to get food. When you guys bring it back, it is like welcomely received by the engineers and the other people that are working on it. Right now, a lot of it is still like production, so a lot of the parts are being sort of measured and machined. A lot of the other stuff is being done, like the assembly hasn't begun yet. This is still very early stages. Also, thank you, Brother White Mage, for the follow. But yeah, so you guys are there. Zax, you're helping out with that. Vrail, what are you up to for the early stages of the boat's construction?
Vrail has this very, like, specific, not insight, just instinct to watch over production.
Oversee
Everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if she's supposed to be there.
No, that's like especially considering this is your like this is it's not only instinctual for Vrail to fall into a leadership of oversight, like a position of leadership and oversight, but also like you helped keep this dwarf from being executed.
Yep.
This was your idea to put this boat together, so like none of the engineers feel that they can like reasonably argue with your presence, and none of them really feel they have the courage to do so. So he has your are you in your full like abomination form?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, so you are how tall? Like 20, 10, 15 feet? Like
12
12-ish?
12 feet tall.
Yeah.
It varies within large size range, because she's like 12 feet tall and then 12 feet of tail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's one of the large size creatures kind of go a little wacky with regards
and
to their proportion.
specifically because she's a snake, she tends to change her height all the damn time.
Well, exactly.
Like,
And the temperature would be good for her right now.
oh yeah, she's loving the temperature. She was worried about Floop. She's
Actually,
great.
yeah, you guys are down in the forges. Here we go.
Yeah, Vrail's loving the temperature, and even like the mildly caustic vapor from the molten metal that veins through the city.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like a lot of especially with the engineers building down here, like there's a lot of ventilation and stuff like that. That obviously it's a big civilization living inside of a mountain. Like they've got their ventilation system sort of sorted. But yeah, like where you like a lot of the rooms that they're building in, despite the fact that it's just for dwarves and it's an engineering space, you definitely have room in here. A lot of the space within this area is actually quite large. So you can stand up in your full form. You don't have to worry about having to crouch down at all while you're here. And Garrick with his daughter Relina, they get to work pounding away on these different things, sort of machining different parts. And is there a role that you'd want to do for sort of like watching, or do you just want to do like general oversight?
Well, it depends. Vrail is probably like just going up and down the side of the thing, like at like the rows of people or whatever. And these guys probably know damn well what they're doing, like, and Vrail doesn't seem to like need to correct anybody, so just general oversight.
Give me perception.
All right.
Because like your intent is to watch and to make sure that like nobody's slacking off or that everyone's doing their jobs.
Yeah. Do I have a... No, I don't have a thing for that. Alright. I'll do it. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. So with a 23, you are fucking eyes fixed sharp as you sort of like steadily, studiously move your way around the space, making sure not to get into anybody's way, watching everybody who's working. To your amazement, potentially, you see the dwarves are incredibly industrious workers. That when they take breaks, it's extremely brief, and they do so in side rooms or other areas where they're out of the way. They'll break, they'll eat their food, they keep their conversations short and to the point. A lot of them actually choose to speak in common when in your presence, so as not to be rude. And like words are not exchanged unless it is for a purpose when they're on the work floor. Like they do not talk about like the weather or anything. There is no casual conversation or anything when working. It's always like everything is extremely down to the wire. Make sure you are always working, always focused on your job, like all that stuff. They're very, very on board.
All right. Vrail is not surprised, but also surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
you expect this kind of stuff from what you've seen of the dwarves so far, but it's still very
oh yeah.
impressive to see that like level of industrious hard work. Like these people, despite the fact that their engineers are like right up to their elbows in it, like at all times of the day.
Like
Yeah, none of them appear to be. They don't like look to be like tired or slowed or overworked in any way. Yeah.
Yeah, Vrail seems impressed. Like she's used to a people's about skill, like that value skill. But these guys just like clicked right into it. No problem, just cogs in a machine kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
like it is very cogs in a machine. Like you will see at points when they're like working on something, one of them will either grunt or even in some cases say nothing at all. And one of the dwarves will like grab a hammer or a tool and throw it over their shoulder, and the other one will catch it, and neither of them look. Like it is like a blind toss, and they just catch the tool, immediately do like a few cranks or a few hammers on something, and then toss it to the side. Another guy catches it, and off they go. It's like you remember if you've seen the Hobbit film.
I haven't.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. There's just a scene where they're all doing dishes at the very early part of the first Hobbit book, and it's all like clockwork how they're like throwing dishes and catching them and washing them and everything. And it's like it's very similar to that they just like straight through 8 hours a day, like they put it in. And then when they're done, you know, they ring a bell and a bunch of them will head out. Usually staying in later, you'll see Garrick and Relina silently working either in the same room or sometimes across from each other, but they never speak.
I want to say that as Vrail, like with that 23, as Vrail's like pacing, like her no matter what movements she makes, her head is always at like one level. You know what I mean? Like that, like kind of like a bird watching something. Or like General Grievous in the cartoon.
Yeah, that's like the head's always at a fixed point when the body's moving around. Like it's always at that fixed level. Oh, absolutely. For all of your observation, a lot of the mechanics of what they're putting together appears to elude you.
That's why I wasn't asking.
Yeah, like it's extremely weird and complex stuff.
Vrail's like, yep, that looks like it's right.
Yeah.
Sure does. This is not Vrail's expertise, but she's doing her expertise.
It's certainly fascinating. Like, for what you can see putting a lot of this stuff together, like when they make certain parts and then they fit them together and they do this and this, it may as well be fucking magic. Like,
absolutely.
It's so wild.
It's magic.
But magic. You're fully there. What is Keeper getting up to during all of this, Warden?
Keeper has been seeing as how Keeper has absolutely zero knowledge or skills that will be particularly helpful with shipbuilding. Keeper has been toiling away with the brewers.
Ah, yes. You did find one of the brewers' places. Now, did you go back to the old fella that you guys had found in the merchants area, or did you try to find like a different person?
He would have made his way back there. Keeper toiled around with some of the he got some old dwarven brewing equipment brought to him in their little room, and he started working with those as well as his own brewing kit to try and produce some sort of like a special new brew. After a while, he would have made his way to a brew. Like after he's like experimented and tinkered for a bit, he would have moved to one of the more popular brewers. Probably went back to Bugman's. Seeing as how they would probably have more of the materials to produce larger batches of the new brew.
Yeah, you go back to Bugman's with some of the stuff you've been working on with, like, you know, sort of mixing your brewing techniques with some of the equipment that they have. Heading back to that place, the elderly dwarf that's there like welcomes you back in. You also have a military liaison who's with you, who's just like keeping an eye on you as you're doing stuff to make sure that you're safe and okay. And you see that not only is there the older fellow who is there, there's also a younger gentleman that's very clearly an apprentice. He's got definitely like sort of sharper features. His beard is much shorter. He hasn't grown into his nose yet. Or rather, his nose hasn't grown in yet. And the two of them ask a lot of questions. Like they go back and forth a lot with like how the brewing works for you and like the process you use and like the gourds that you're using. If they add anything, or if this was just something that you use because you had it on hand. Like,
yeah.
If you wanted to test maybe trying to make something with some of their equipment and see how that tastes and how it like measures up and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a lot of such a fascinating mixture of like art and alchemy for them. That it's a science and an art to these people for sure.
Yeah. Whereas like to us, it's mostly been more of an art than a science because we've only been making it one traditional way for the longest time. We haven't had access to all of these, like, you know what I mean? Like we brew it this way, we have all the stuff to brew it this way. We haven't had the time or the resources or the need to experiment to this degree with different ingredients and different brewing methods and stuff like that. So all of that would be very new and exciting to Keeper.
Yeah. It's funny because there's so how much of this poison do you put in? And you're like, I don't know, a pinch, like this much. And he's like, how much is that? And they have measuring cups and bowls and things, and they ask you to like measure out how much you would normally put in, and they try to approximate that to the closest nearest measurement, like a quarter and 3/5 of this much, etc. And they're like furiously taking notes the whole time. You see the younger gentleman actually burns through one of his charcoals and like has to like scramble and get another one before he starts writing again.
Yeah, and Keeper would also want to be like privy to what he's writing down and stuff like that, so that he could try and transcribe some for himself as well. Like Keeper's also wants like copies of his notes, describing all of the brewing process and stuff like that, right? But like I could just write that down in my own dialect, like
exactly.
I should have some paper and charcoal from earlier.
Yeah, And they of all the notes that when they start writing things down, you see that they're in Dwarven. That it's all in like a runic text that you're not terribly familiar with, but they do offer to transcribe and make copies for you in common if you'd like.
This would be most agreeable.
And you see the younger guy kind of bright-eyed, like nods. He's like, "Oh, okay," and he makes like a few more notes to make transcriptions and things like that.
Keeper can also write down in his own as long as he knows what's being written down, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, all right, this is the measurement that we need. He writes that down. Keeper can easily just write that down on his own as well. It would just be if the dwarves had anything like formulas or specific measurement units that we wouldn't be familiar with, or their different formulas or their recipes, like how, like, you know what I mean, their ingredients, like their
yeah.
I could write down most normal stuff myself if it's like, you know what I mean, like processes and stuff like that, but it's all the more technical stuff that I wouldn't know how to put to paper.
No, exactly. Roll me your usual check that you would do for brew making.
I think that's int.
No, attributes wisdom for the brewer's kit. Proficiency is 7.
And then using the brewer's kit, you can add your proficiency to it.
Dope.
So what do I do? Just that?
Yeah, there you go. 25. Okay,
nice.
Good. You find that a lot of the measurements that they use actually not all that different from yours. You say like about this much of this ingredient, but you find that it actually measures pretty accurately to some of the measurements that they have. So some of their cups and teaspoons and tablespoons and stuff like that match your like pinches and about this muches of different ingredients that you guys have been using.
So we could throw together a rudimentary conversion chart. No.
Yeah, that like you can start putting that together. One of the dwarves, the apprentice offers to help like sort of construct something that's much more formal for you as you guys are working, that they can bring in a scribe that can start like taking notes and sort of bind a formal book, because a lot of the stuff they're taking right now are just like notes that they can like scratch out or erase and rewrite. And once they have something going, then they're going to bring in like a proper person to like in ink and paper press a proper book that is like this recipe and a lot of the explanations.
Keeper is very, very happy to see that and is excited. Like he's just seeing that the knowledge is being preserved for future generations. That's like that hits home for Keeper, you know?
Yeah.
Brings him back to his monastery. Keeper feels, strangely enough, very at home in this unfamiliar environment. Like Keeper's he's used to being in caves, but this is a lot grander than he's used to. He's used to being in like a monastery, which is very humble. And they have like statues and stuff like that. They do have their little grand touches, but they're always in specific places for specific reasons, as opposed to for the grandness of it, you know? But like, so Keeper's been kind of at home, but still kind of like weirded out by being in this place so far. But like being here, working with the brews, like with the other brewmaker, seeing all the equipment going off, making the conversions, experimenting with, different amounts, different ingredients, different fermenting processes. It all like it brings Keeper a lot of like warmth and nostalgia, and like he's very happy.
Yeah, no, like they're thrilled to fucking work with you. A lot of them very, very excited to be getting through this stuff. You, on occasion, through like the one pseudo window that's on the front of the establishment, you see on occasion a few sort of nosy people kind of poking in, trying to look and see what's going on. The older gentleman who runs the establishment runs over and like closes a set of sort of like heavy stone blinds that like clack shut over the window. And he's just, these people want to steal our secrets. They will. We'll perfect this recipe before they can get their groovy hands involved.
Knowledge should be spread for all to enjoy, or at least the product. However, we should make sure that the experts are the ones who perfect the recipe. In less skilled hands, a lot of the ingredients we work with can be highly volatile or toxic.
Oh, don't I know it? And he points to some of the like the larger metal containment units that he's got there for keeping like high pressure fermenting stuff going. And he also kind of like wiggles one of his hands that you see is missing a finger. That he's just like, we'll make sure that we get this making done right. There's no finer hands making this in this kingdom than us here at Boogman's. And the younger apprentice like beams silently, kind of like gives a big smile as he keeps writing.
Keeper kind of gives a solemn, respectful nod and like respect, like as they keep working.
Yeah. And you guys continue production. It's going to take a little while for you guys to sort of perfect this recipe, but
because it takes a while, even with fancy dwarven technology. I imagine like fermentation takes a while just as a natural process. So we'll be able to work on a batch, and then while that's fermenting, work on an alternate like a separate alternate batch with different ingredients. Like when working smaller batches, obviously, until the recipe is perfected, and then once we find a recipe, then that's the recipe that can go into larger production.
Oh, well, exactly. And on top of all of that, as you've been well able to detect from everything that's going on, the dwarves are nothing if not patient. They prefer that if anything is going to be done, it deserves to be done right. So they definitely make sure they take their time to get everything done as close to perfect or as close to their standards as possible.
At the same time, Keeper's also very impressed with a lot of the brewing technology. Like Keeper's brewing technology at home would be very traditional, would be very like old school, old fashioned, right? Whereas these guys will have like proper like big like fermentation tubs and stirrers and sieves and like mash like makers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that
all kinds of stuff
greatly speed up the process. That just fascinates Keeper.
And you're just like, man, back home we had, if we were lucky, like a bucket to do some of this. Like most of this was done in a series of gourds or like little like divots in the cave that we would just pour and mix things and then don't go in that room for a while until it's done.
Yeah.
I just got
But
this
you gotta
image.
reuse the same barrels over and over again. Like,
I just got this image of a bunch of Thrycreens crushing grapes for wine.
like
Super
stick them into
speed.
a fight powder.
Oh, yeah. They fucking just like they all run up to like a fucking divot in like the ground of a small cave area that they have and just just punching like all of the bugs and poison and mushing it together, and then they'll just like move a rock in front of the door and they'll be like, and just don't go in there for a while, and then we'll come back in a day or two and maybe it'll be something we can drink later. Like, it's all, but like the fact that you've produced such a like that your techniques are so vastly different than their brewing techniques typically here is what's so valuable. And you really can see that it's like, oh yeah, we did this and our brewing techniques were like this back at home. And you see a lot of their brewing techniques actually mirror yours, but it's just using more sophisticated technology. Like, instead of leaving it in a thing, it's like, oh, we put it in these big vats and we like seal the lid on with these like big fucking screws, and we have like a pressure gauge and we make sure we keep the pressure and temperature at exactly this thing. Whereas like you guys were like, yeah, we just, you know, we have to use this cave at this part of the tunnel system that's this close to the outside during the season so that the room would be roughly the right temperature. But it's like they have much more technological control over this stuff. But so it's like you see the evolution of your brewing techniques in their hands, but it seems it's lost a lot of what you guys were initially doing. That like theirs is much more scientific, whereas yours was much more artistry. So there is that very palpable, like you can definitely see the connections between yours and theirs.
And during breaks, when Keeper like needs to sit down or wait for something to ferment or something like that, Keeper will like scroll down as many notes on that as possible. Like keep a little journal of the whole experience from his point of view. You know, like that'll be helpful. It'll be helpful for the elders and and stuff like that back home.
What's your passive perception?
17.
Okay. So you easily catch during a break that the apprentice of the Bugman's Brewery, he is making sketches of you in his book.
Aww.
Aww. Their hearts around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dear diary,
has great
today I
appreciation
met
for
my new hero. He makes beer.
So yeah, like that's mostly what Keeper, like it's gonna take a while for all the fermentations in the brews to actually like perfect and stuff like that. So that's basically what Keeper's gonna be doing while they're working on the ship.
Yeah. All right. So that's what you're up to. Keeper working on the brews. Zax, you're assisting where you can during these stages. Floop and Sciaces, you guys are sort of helping out with like bringing food and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you guys want to get over?
Sciaces probably like somehow got a hold of like a cute little apron. And it's just kind of like making sure everybody is taken care of and well fed.
If anybody can find a cute apron, it's gonna be you.
There's just this floating apron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna say? Over the days, because this takes like even just the first like design and machining of a lot of the parts and everything else, like before like big construction begins, it's weeks of work. So 2 weeks in is about the time it takes for them to at least get a lot of the molds machined and a lot of the other things and a lot of the design work done, so that they can hand that over to the other craftsmen to start bringing in additional work and help for certain things. During this time, Vrail, you're doing oversight as well?
Yep.
He didn't come through.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Dope. Sices, I want you to give me like what's your persuasion?
Give me
Because
a
every
moment.
time you go back to the merchant's district to the 2 bakers that are there, it is a fight on site. Like every time.
Yeah. You want me to roll it?
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say roll me a diplomacy.
Is that
Persuasion.
Gonna be a persuasion?
Yeah.
Persuasion.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking
Yeah.
3.5.
All good.
Like way back.
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
So you through the fact that you are a spirit and the dwarves revere you as an ancestor of your people, you're able to potentially get through to the 2 that are working out there, Nakrith and Mama Mum. What do you say to them to try to get them to sort of come to terms, or at the very least stop fighting each other?
I think Siaces tries to impart on the both of them that, you know, through time, the more traditional methods of baking, you know, impart some wisdom and make way for the new, the new ways of baking and things like that. But there's also things that more traditional bakers can learn from the sort of more modern ways of cooking. There's always something to learn from both, and they both together create equally wonderful food. You know, foods as art, foods as a way to you know, communicate together and survive and be well fed and share love and history with each other, and that's very important.
Yeah, they both definitely take that to account, and there is like a sort of like silent truce that you see they experience in that moment, and to the astonishment of the guards, and also to their collective relief because they don't have to deal with screaming and potentially arrest these people again.
Again.
Yeah, fucking
Again.
put them in the drunk tank to have them cool down.
For
even
the
though they're not
30th
drunk.
time this month.
Yeah.
Oh
for the
my
fucking,
god!
Yeah.
Could you imagine what a could you imagine what a dwarven drunk tank looks like in this town?
Yeah. It's like a fucking like metal reinforced cube they put you in. The fucking
Like-
ISO cubes, like they put you in there, and they fucking you gotta go in and cool off. But yeah, they're like to the relief and like thrill of the guards that are there. They actually come to a reasonable agreement. Nakrith actually apologizes for saying that Mama Mum uses ground beetles for flour, and she apologizes saying that, you know, potentially, you know, younger generations may yet have something to show, like that they have things to offer and they might have wisdom through their unique perspective.
Yay!
They say this through gritted teeth, mind you.
Sure.
Fine.
But
It's an improvement. It's a step
but
forward.
yeah, they kind of like the most you get is like a warm ceasefire out of them. So
Okay.
it's good. And in that, actually, Mama Mum and Nakrith both bring you gifts.
Oh, yay. Oh, that's so sweet.
The first is a extremely lovingly prepared apron that Mama Mum has brought to you.
Oh.
Aww.
Siaces is
That's super
overjoyed.
It doesn't have anything written on the front. You see, like, just masterfully sewn into the front is the emblem of the Dwarven Kingdom.
Oh my goodness. That's wonderful.
And yeah, and it's just like it's a lot heavier than you'd expect. When you pick it up, you're not sure if it's got like leather or lead lining in it. It feels like a lead apron that you wear when you're at the dentist. Like it's heavy, but you definitely get the notion that it's it's
grade bacon.
yeah, it's an industrial apron, but it looks nice. Like it looks, very, very loving. It's got like cotton, like heavy twill cotton for the outside of it. It's white, and the sort of like gold emblem on the front. Nakrith brings you a set of oven mitts.
Oh. Are they also super heavy?
Yeah. They have articulated fingers on them, which you don't see
fancy.
often with mittens, especially oven mitts. But
Oven gloves,
yeah,
even.
you can add to your inventory flame retardant apron and gloves.
Amazing.
This is beautiful.
Very nice.
Sices
Yeah.
is so happy.
The gloves are like a dark black, and you're not sure if they're made from leather or cloth. Like it's definitely like a softer texture for the outside of them, but they weigh truly so much when you put them on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and like they were. You get the feeling they were kind of machined down for the size of your hands as opposed to the extremely like blocky dwarven hands.
Sure, yeah.
But like you're able to articulate your fingers in them just fine. But yeah, they're very heavy duty, and they are flame resistant or flame retardant. Sorry, those are different things, and I want to make sure I make that distinction.
Yeah.
They are fireproof,
do
not
not-
fire resistant.
These do not give you resistance to fire damage.
Nope. But if you touch something that would normally harm you, like if you're holding an object and somebody does heat metal on it while you're holding that object, it will not affect you because you have the gloves on.
Amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it allows you to handle things that are potentially like molten in heat.
That is pretty ding dang cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what dwarven baking mittens look like. So-
Heck yeah. Heavy duty. I'm ready for anything.
Put your hands
Hell
in the
yeah.
molten metal.
Yeah, like molten metal or freshly baked bread. You decide.
You decide.
You'll find out soon.
You'll find out.
Next
so yeah,
time.
Yes.
In that process as well, you're able to basically get like coffee and baked goods and stuff from the both of them. They do the exchanges with you. Eventually, after like the first few days, the city actually, like the kingdom, steps in and not only pays you back for some of what you've spent beyond the first day, but they also cover all of the charges for the food that's being sent down there going forward. You are also assigned a sort of like, I don't want to say like a team, but like a small group of additional military liaisons that will help you carry your goods to that place each day.
An entourage.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
They are all thrilled to be working with you. They speak almost not at all. And there is on one occasion like the first day that they show up, they mutter between themselves about how these two bakers aren't killing each other and that it is a sign from God that
As
mission
we're
is blessed.
walking, that's amazing. As we're like walking back and forth together, like bringing food like to and from, Siaces has been like singing songs and just like
What kind of songs are you singing?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Probably.
Tiptoe through the tulips.
Yeah, no. Probably like
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah.
yeah, fucking Battlefield by Blind Guardian.
Just like bodies.
That's when she's approaching the bakery.
Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. I'd like to sing you all a traditional song of my people, the undead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking-
Probably songs of that are meant to bring hope and warmth.
Power ballad.
Give
Queen.
me
Yeah.
a. I'm gonna say do a performance for me with advantage.
Cool. Weep.
20. Yeah, so you, as you're sort of ferrying these goods from the bakery area to the engineering district and handing out this stuff, you're singing these beautiful fucking songs from where you're from. Let's see.
What do we got?
One of the members of your entourage weeps openly.
Oh no! That wasn't my intention.
Yeah, no.
Weeps
And
openly.
it's just so hey, Walks with Boots, yeah, we're building a boat.
Building a boat.
In our D&D here, and our banshee bard was like singing these beautiful songs of like hope and the future and like just, you know, doing your best and everything. And one of the dwarves is like, "Yeah, I got to do my best." And it's like wiped a big goobly dwarf tear away from his beard like
Like big thumbs up as tears like stream down their face.
yeah, they're just they're all so inspired. It's so wonderful.
Those big
So
anime
that's-
globs of tears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big goopy anime tears, but it's like the rest of them seem to keep their shit together, with the exception of just this one guy who just eventually breaks. He's just like, "Oh yeah, I gotta do my best." And he's just and like one of the other dwarves like pats him on the shoulder, and he's just like, "Ooh." That like big man cry that they do when they're trying to get it back under control. It's like, "Ooh, yeah."
As if that would suck the tear back into their eyeball.
Yeah, if that would help.
It's like that
you're not sure if
meme.
they're crying or if they stub their toe. Like it's the same noise.
It's like that meme. It's like, hey, look how hard I can cry.
Yeah. But yeah, so for the few weeks that we get into this, that's what you're up to. Keeper's making brews. Zax, you are working with the engineers that are there. Floop, you're also getting refreshments, but you are mostly getting from other areas like fruits and vegetables and things like that. Yes?
Yeah, and I wanted to do a small thing before it got away, but I wanted to let space for people. But the first time she comes back with the biscuits and coffee,
Yeah.
she waddles up to Vrail, saying, "I didn't know if you could drink coffee or eat biscuits, so I got this for you." And she just gestures towards the big slab of meat.
You may add to your inventory, Vrail, an entire side of dry-aged beef.
I'm gonna
Nice.
eat it like immediately. So.
Just destroy it.
It
She
is
just-
like
she gets
half a
handed-
cow's worth of meat, so
Okay,
it'll
well-
take you a bit, but you can get into it.
She gets handed to it, immediately just unhinges her jaw, places it in her throat, and closes the jaw.
Yeah, that's right, Mary. Big
And then
gibbly tears.
stoic Final Fantasy 14 warrior of light nod. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nod. Stoic
Gently
nod in
pats her
response to
tummy.
everything.
Like, turns around, walks away, leaving everybody else in the room just awestruck at what the fuck they just witnessed.
What the fuck was that? You know, one of the engineers, when did she start doing that? Like, what happened? Like, that was about a dwarf's worth of meat almost all at once.
Zax. Should that just trigger my passive intimidation to all these dwarves?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
110%.
But yeah, since Diocese has the bakery side taken care of, Floop will bring refreshments and food that is more healthy and focused on energy and a healthy diet.
Hell yeah. A lot of the meats and vegetables and things that you bring in from the sort of the grocers area of the trade district, is definitely like you get like a lot of goat and beef that gets brought in from the farming town of Allura, but the vegetables that are brought in are almost entirely root vegetables. Like you don't see any cucumbers or anything that grows above dirt. It's almost entirely either like wheat that gets brought in for the bakery or like potatoes and carrots and tubers of many kinds. Passive intimidation is 16. Very nice. Yeah, a lot of your like standing about and making sure that they're working. Like they definitely like are used to working under pressure. A lot of them are used to the environment. Your presence certainly adds a level, like a degree of additional inspiration to their work, which is fantastic.
Yes, inspiration.
Yeah.
So over the weeks, Saices, you're given this apron and set of gloves. Floop, you are actually offered a collapsible bucket by some of the people that are working in the grocers area that see you coming and going, constantly picking up groceries and stuff like that. You are also given allowance by the kingdom to ferry these goods down to the engineering quarter. And some assistance from the military district to act as like an entourage to assist you in moving things around. But you were offered like a dwarven collapsible bucket, which is very similar to the one that you use, except that it's made with like metals and is masterfully crafted.
Floop will have glitters in her eyes for days and will actually hug her bucket several times a day.
Yeah, it is like it's metal plating. It's all like stainless steel. The areas between the slats are like resin sealed, so that when it like comes out and comes together, like it doesn't leak at all. It's so nice. Yeah, beets and radishes. Nary knows what's up. So yeah. Keeper, as you are working with the brewers, they offer you a beer stein. It is heavy. It's a metal dwarven beer stein. It has one of those like little thumb dealios that opens the top piece to it.
It's not made of stone?
Oh, that's a very good point,
that's
actually.
what that means. That's what the word means.
Oh, yeah.
German.
That's what the word may have been made out of a meat, like.
They
but
were.
they have metalworking. Why wouldn't they make them out of metal as well?
Yeah, the base like around like the body of it is stone with like metal bracing on it, and like the base of it's made from metal, and the lid that opens and closes and stuff like that as well. But it's all like masterfully crafted. It's offered to you by both the people that are working in Bugsman's with you. The two dwarves that are there, the elder who owns the place, Borgorund, is the guy that runs the place, and his apprentice, Hefarth.
Sorry, I'm just gonna write that down quickly here. What were their names?
Borgorund is the guy that runs it.
How do you spell that?
I'll put those in the chat for you so that you can have that. Here you go. I kind of put the dash in there to kind of give you an idea as to how that's usually said. Yeah, Borgorund is the elder, and Hefarth is his apprentice.
He's the elder dwarven brewmaster.
Mm-hmm. You get the notion that he is like Hefarth.
Hefarth is the apprentice.
Yeah.
Apprentice brewer. Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure I put those in my allies' organizations and stuff.
You got a mastercrafted dwarven stein.
Nice.
You honor me greatly with this gift. I shall treasure it always.
It weighs 10 pounds.
Wow.
Add that weight.
All right.
It's not light. Let's see. Zax, while you are working there with the engineers, slowly over the weeks, they kind of like trust you with operating some of the machinery. Like if they've machined out a mold for something and it needs to be poured, like they're okay with you doing that to help out. and whatnot. Again, like while you guys are on your breaks, brief as though they may be, they do through like munching down food, ask you questions about like your particular craft and like the artificing that you do and like what kind of tools you use to machine some of the stuff that you have, and if you do like cold steel forging, or if you melt it down, and what you use for that kind of stuff.
And I'll regale them about some of the stuff that I've worked in at the at Pars Parts, and I'd always be wearing like my shield with the big emblazoned symbol of Pars Parts on it.
Wasn't that a prestidigitation or something?
No, it was one of my artificer infusions.
Ah, gotcha.
And like I'll show off some of the little things that I can do by like touching a glass and making it glow and stuff like that, and like showing them like how I can sort of scribe things into little objects just by kind of waving my hand over it.
Machine plus magic.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you see that there's like a lot of confusion when it comes to how the magic works into the stuff that you have here, like the things that you've been building, and a lot of the other work that you guys do down here in the engineering quarter, like how this comes together, how it's powered, how the magic is inducted from one area to another, like what gives it its sentience, how much will does it have, like how much agency and autonomy do they possess, how long do they last for, like stuff like that. And they'll make comments sort of like for and against a lot of the designs that you have. Like they'll be like, oh, well, this is good because it's really fascinating how you get the magic to induct this way, or how you just use like open magic induction, like you're not using any kind of conductors or anything like that here, but like here you're using these and these things, and then sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, this part wasn't machined very well, like we could definitely make better versions of this, like this is if we could just figure out this other part, like we could make superior versions, like the craftsmanship of these parts aren't very good, but it is fascinating how you also like do these and these things differently.
And the fact that a lot of this stuff that I've made out in the field.
Out of scrap.
Yeah. And a lot of it's cold forging that you do. Like you just kind of hammer these pieces into shape, or like you use magic to shape and twist them into whatever things that you need. And there's like a mixed reaction to that. Like some are kind of impressed, and others are like, I wouldn't trust that. Like I don't know. Magic for that kind of stuff seems kind of like a lot of them are kind of uneasy, but like whatever, you're not making their lives harder, so they're happy to sort of just watch and theorize and ask questions. After a few weeks of you working down there with them, though, on one of your breaks, the other engineers kind of get together while Garrick is in the room, and Relina is also there, kind of like both of them quietly present. They offer you an apprentice engineer's badge.
I would be Zax would be incredibly surprised. What? Yeah, he'd be surprised and confused.
And yeah, and you see, like they kind of like nod between each other, and they like like yes, and they sort of like push the thing towards you a little bit more. Garrick speaks up in the back and says, "You catch on a lot faster than others would. Especially even doughy children would come down. You certainly learn a lot faster than the Ungi on the surface as well."
I'm honored, and he'll accept the badge and like look it over, like it like look it over in detail.
Oh, it is masterfully crafted. And it is effectively the emblem of the Dwarven Kingdom with like a large gear behind it. Not too dissimilar from Pars Parts. But yeah, and then Garrick speaks up again. "This is not to say that you're going to be given better work or anything like that. You'll still be doing the jobs you're assigned."
Well, of course, that's what an apprentice does.
Precisely. You kind of like nod. Good. But, and he sort of like gives you a serious nod. "Good work." And all the other dwarves like nod to each other and they're like, yeah, good work, good work. They're all like,
They all have basically the same voice. They're dwarves. It's
I can do like 3 dwarven voices.
dude,
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Dude, it's fine.
Zach will like look over the badge again and then like be grinning widely and just nod.
Yeah. To that, as you guys sort of like when you're working here during the day and in the evenings, you can either go back to your personal quarters or find other things to do during the evening. But as you are traveling back after a few weeks of work, Vrail, you are approached by your kingdom's liaison, the one fellow, I believe. Just gonna get to like back to the town kind of area. Yeah, there he is, Barton. Barton finds you and asks if he can speak with you for a moment.
I tear myself away from my job that I appointed to myself.
Yeah. This is like after work for the day.
Oh,
This is
okay.
on your way back to your quarters.
All right. Yeah. I look at him. I look down at him.
And he goes, well, we can see that production has been increased the last little while since you've been helping oversee things in the engineer's quarter. And, well, the nobles, with more than a little encouragement from myself, have wanted to give you this.
And he offers up to you a badge.
I take it. I look at it.
It has writing on the front of it, and is in the shape of a dwarven helmet with a pair of axes crossed behind it.
Is an overseer's badge.
And what does it do?
Well, it means officially you're seen as a sort of person who oversees the work to the quarter to which you're assigned. In this particular case, that would be the engineering jobs.
Ah, so formally.
Ah, yes. Sort of a formal recognition from the Jawi about the work you've been doing here.
I like go over it in my hand. It's so small in my hand.
Yeah,
So
it
small.
is like dwarfish size, so it's about like between 4 to 6 inches across.
Do I?
Definitely been sized up a little bit for you.
Yeah. Okay. Do I have I seen? I probably have seen other people with badges. Like
You have.
around?
In fact, you see on Barton in like the large central braid of his beard, he has a badge that's there as well. They're made from what appears to be highly polished brass, and his has sort of a dwarven face on it with a crown on the top.
I will find somewhere to wear
Find
this.
somewhere to pin this.
Like, she's wearing her fucking gold armor, and she definitely, like, she doesn't want to attach it to it, because it is, like, this is very special armor, and regardless of, like, the, level of importance this badge is, it is nowhere close to as important as this armor, so it doesn't
Yeah.
get to be attached to it.
Is there like a sash or something that you could
Or-
wear that you put the badge
Yeah.
on?
Yeah,
Or
Different way to
possibly
affix
your
it.
scimitar, the belt holding the sheath for your scimitar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you see
there's-
that on the back of the badge is basically just like a large clip.
Yeah.
So you can like clip it to your belt, or you can clip it to like the breastplate of the armor, or like to maybe one of your pauldrons.
yeah, pointedly, it is not being attached to the armor.
Okay.
But yeah, she could like attach it to one of the belts of the yeah, like her sword sheath, which should be crossed over her shoulder.
Well, it can't
Yeah.
really hang off her hips.
It's yeah, it could.
A little bit.
but it doesn't. Like, there would be, like, a belt around the hips and then, like a strap over her shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she would clasp it to the strap of the scabbard belt. Near the chest, around the same area on her person as the badges are being displayed on the dwarves.
Okay.
So that people know where to look for a badge.
Yeah, you see a lot of the people that do have badges wear them somewhere on like their front chest area. A lot of the guards folk have it like affixed directly onto their beards. Usually it's like the center of their beard is
I
like
don't have
where
hair, so
you don't
yeah,
have one. So it's
like
fine.
I looked at his and then I like kind of looked around a little bit and like considered like searched memory. Yeah, I'll clip it to my shoulder strap for my scabbard.
Oh, yeah, no, you like attach it right there so it sits like central and is very visible. And yeah, like there's as you continue on with your time here in the Dwarven Kingdom, people definitely take notice of it. And like, well, like you notice people notice it. They don't necessarily behave differently, but they do clock in that you're like an official member of the town so far as anyone's concerned. Yeah. So as the days go on and you guys are working with this, eventually the production of this moves from the engineering quarter down to a dock system that they have in the kingdom. They have built this area effectively to act as their like comings and goings for where ships would arrive and depart through a large cave that faces west.
I would like to add that during these weeks, Vrail would ask if there is a sauna type area that can be personal and change.
Oh, because you want to do your poison sauna?
Yeah, I want to do my
Absolutely.
poison. Like, Vrail values rest very much.
Oh man.
And
Okay.
luxury, and she considers that to be a creature comfort that she has not
Well, I
had
mean-
on her journey so far, really.
Well, exactly. And one of the sauna rooms is basically cleared out for you and quarantined. And you do have the ability to effectively use it for you so that you can like put your poison into the thing and then have your sort of like your poison saunas whenever you need them.
Excellent.
For your downtime in the afternoons.
I take it-
they have like a series of baths and saunas and stuff like that. That they can just as easily like put a sign up on one of them to be like, "Don't go in there."
Put just a poison symbol just on the door, just like hazard. But no, it's okay. It's supposed to be. Just chill. Like,
don't go in there.
just don't go in there. But yeah, like Vrail would take like an amount of time to relax that I'm sure the dwarves are uncomfortable with. like way more relaxation than they're used to for somebody who is so strict and stern.
Yeah. What you notice a lot of from the dwarves is that while they work hard during the hours that they're on, when that bell rings, they're done. Like, it's work hard or play hard. They have like two hard modes. Speaking of, thank you, Palanthir, for that tip. Hell yeah! Hold on, let's get some cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, damn! Thank you so much for your donation, Palanthir, keeping us on schedule for this month. This Friday is going to be, or tomorrow rather, is going to be SCP. But next week we're doing another Chaos stream for folks that want to come in on that, where we play 7 Days to Die and people donate money to make my life insane.
Nice.
As I try to play that game.
Oh,
if people
I
want to
love
check that out.
that.
Hey everyone,
I
chat,
love
fuck them up.
Fuck them up. It's a good time.
Fuck 'em up.
So yeah.
During the
Thank you so
downtime,
much.
during the downtime though, I want to add, Zax will be wearing his like apprentice badge, and would want to go to like the mage's quarter to find a component pouch.
A component pouch.
Yep.
Okay, so do you have like one of the engineers offers to go with you, or you can go with just a military liaison?
I ask if he wants to go, or if he wants to, like, if he's just doing it out of
Necessity.
Necessity.
I mean, you get the notion that he's doing it
Obligation.
like he doesn't want to be in the Arcanists Academy. That like the people down there are really not folks that agree quite so much with anyone in this quarter. But yeah, he just kind of wanted to go along with you to keep an eye on you to make sure you were okay. But yeah, like a soldier is assigned, and you head over to that area, and you say you're just looking for a component pouch, right?
Yep. So something basic.
Yeah. So heading over to that area, I'll move us along to like here. In the Arcanists Academy, you are welcomed by like the same sort of architecture that you are familiar with the rest of the Dwarven Kingdom, like that hard angular stone architecture, very brutalist 1980s stone architecture. But like this area is so transformatively different from everywhere else that you see in the kingdom, in that all of the lamps are now no longer fire. They're all of these like, multicolored stones that glow. There's books floating around where you go places, and there's like dwarves with these huge pipes that are like, all sitting around and like, talking with each other, smoking and blowing like little shapes out of smoke occasionally. It's all like it's very wizard in here. Like there's a lot of like magical bullshit going on pretty much everywhere. One of the attendants at the sort of entrance area clocks you as you walk in, looking a little confused. Walks over to where you are and goes, yes, can I help you? And he looks down at you, and then he looks down at your badge, and he goes, an engineer.
Artificer.
And he kind of like shrugs and goes, all right, well, call yourself whatever helps you make you feel important. What can I get you?
I'm looking for a component pouch.
He kind of like squints a little bit at you and goes, what for?
For my spells and my little gadgets. Like this. And I hold up my my hand to show him my bracer. And there's like little like etched runes and stuff in it with a component of flint attached to it.
He you see like he kind of gazes down at it for a moment, and then you see his eyes like start to glow this like sort of arcane purplish color, and there's like an audible as he's doing it for like a good few seconds, and then he kind of leans back and looks almost confused. There's like a mixture of confusion and wonder and like offense that sort of washes over his face in like varying amounts.
It's a vibe.
And so eventually he just goes, right, just a moment. He kind of like scurries off.
In the meantime, as he scurries off, I turn to the guard and just sort of give him a confused shrug.
And he kind of shrugs back at you and he goes, I don't know anything about magic. It's too much trouble if you ask me. Eventually, and I'm trying to find the picture that I have for this gentleman. In Rogacall. An attendant comes and gets you and actually escorts you to an inner area of the Arcanists Academy, to which you find this gentleman that you remember from court.
Yes.
Yes, this is one of the nobles, the head of the Arcanists Academy, Darbin Steelcap.
Is this the one that, like, annoyed us while we were there?
No.
No, that's the guy from the Bankers Guild. Darbin is
Slap
the
shit out of that Bankers Guild guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. You see as you enter into this area, sort of standing off to the one side next to the opening, there is like a pool of roiling, almost unnatural lava, and fixated in the center is a large red gem that is pulsing and thrumming with arcane power. Steelcap, still smoking on his modest pipe, clocks you as you come in and goes, "Ah, yes. Our little growy friend who's working with the engineers, it seems." And he sort of walks over, kind of takes a long drag from his pipe as he narrows his eyes down at you, kind of giving you an appraising look, blasting some smoke out of his nose. He finally goes, "So you're looking for a component pouch?"
Yep. Kind of a basic thing.
What do they need with magic down there?
Oh, it's not them that needs it. It's me that needs it.
If I may ask you politely, what are they for?
Well, I need spell components for some of the stuff that I do.
That's vague.
I want to say this in the most polite way possible. We didn't think Groby could cast spells using components.
Sean,
Most of us thought you just came across some very enchanted mud or thrown some magically tickled feces at each other, we imagined.
Well, I don't know about other greenskins like me, but like this kind of stuff I was taught by by the person I was apprenticing under, by Par.
Oh, and this Pa, you were apprenticing under him, he was a wizard.
No, he's an artificer.
So it's like a fancy engineer, or?
Well, it's kind of a mesh. I don't remember if you recall me mentioning it back in the trial some days ago.
Briefly, aye.
Well, a lot of the stuff of what I do is kind of a combination of like engineering and magic, and I sort of tap the hand that's on my shoulder with my little homunculus servant and sort of gives a thumbs up and waves.
He gives like a little wave, like squeaky, squeaky, with his little arm. He goes,
So you're mixing engineering with magic then, eh?
Mixed. It's not a matter of I'm developing it, it's a matter of I already know how to do a lot of this stuff.
Aye.
roll me insight.
Inside.
And he's got like a big furrowed brow that you've seen on Par a few times. It's a very similar expression you've seen on him that is a mixture of curiosity and not necessarily like frustration, but like, I don't think this is going to work, but I'm also curious how it's supposed to work. That like,
lol, okay, show me.
yeah. Like, this is just another idiot child trying to reinvent the wheel, and everybody goes through that phase at some point or another in their lives where they think they can do better than, like, ancient traditions that we've been passing down, but sure, what do you have? Yeah. And so,
I see.
yeah, it's just, like, because it is absolutely, like, not out-and-out heresy, but you definitely in the time that you've been spending here, you really do get the impression that, like, the engineers prefer to do things in measured ways of, like, math and physics and chemicals that they know how things work. Whereas they see magic as unpredictable and needless and dangerous, and it doesn't need to be involved in their engineering because engineering works just fine without arcane involvement.
Sure does.
Without meddling in things that'll just get you killed. Whereas the wizards believe that engineering is a lot of needless busy work, that you're really like going through great lengths to produce the same effects that some simple magic would just do. And like, sure, magic can be a little unstable at times, but that's the nature of the universe, and who cares? Like, we've seen boilers blow up more than once. Why, like, it's, you know, engineering's not without its dangers. But yeah, so
So-
they seem at very opposite ends of the table, whereas you appear to be this sort of like in between, and you get the notion that Steel Cap is kind of curious about that.
Wait, so seeing this like kind of okay, sure, kind of look that I've seen before.
Yeah,
Zax will chime in. Would you like me to demonstrate?
and he kind of like nods to you and then gestures for you to come with him, and they take you into like a side room, which is like a small area that you see. You know what, I'm just going to go ahead and use this because we didn't use this earlier. It's like an armored space that they use for testing out certain things. You see that across the floor there are scorches and scuffs, little areas that have been either broken or melted in the floor. And he kind of like walks into the center of the room with you and gestures for you to go ahead.
Alright, so first I'm gonna tap my little homunculus friend and gesture him to kind of hover off a little ways away. And it takes off and it sort of hovers almost like a drone with 4 propellers, with like the arm hanging below it instead.
It's just kind of hanging there.
And so it'll just hover a couple feet away, and I'll hold up that same gauntlet, not gauntlet, that bracer with the flint in it, and I'll hold my hand out and run my my other hand across the flint towards the homunculus, and I'll kind of like have it almost like I'm looking through my fingers to like pinch someone's head, but instead I bring it out instead to have it grow, and I cast.
Enlarge/reduce. Oh.
So
Oh
I am
my god.
casting enlarge on my homunculus, and it grows another size. So now it's in, I believe it's a small creature now rather than a tiny creature that can fit on my shoulders.
Yeah, you cast this, and the creature, like the homunculus, grows in size and sort of clunks, and is sort of like presently there. And you see the Steel Cap sort of like walk over, still with his pipe in his mouth every now and then, sort of like puffing a bit of smoke out of his nose, and he sort of like walks around appraising it, and he goes,
Aye, so I know this spell, and you use it in conjunction with this thing here, this homunculus you've made, this golem.
Yeah, but it's the golem isn't what is helping me cast the spell. It's the bracer here.
Aye, so that's like your catalyst then? Like a wand or staff or a rod that another wizard might use?
Kind of, but it's not limited to regular spells that well, or at least what I make is not limited to regular spells that you'd find like in a spell book or something like that. And I kind of look around to see if there's any like little bits of rubble or something that might be laying around from their testing.
yeah, there's like rubble of varying degrees in the room, sort of been swept to the edges of the sides.
All right, so I'll grab one of them and walk it over and give it to my little homunculus servant, and then I'll take out my shield. All right, throw that at me. Just telling the homunculus to do that.
Yeah, it like spins around and like whips it at you, and it clangs off the shield that you have.
And I will copy and paste that.
There it is. 4 charges. Yeah, when you can use a reaction immediately after being hit by a melee attack to expend one of the shield's charges and push the attacker up to 15 feet away. Shield regains 24 expended charges daily at dawn. So at this, see him kind of like squint in again.
I make sure that like the shield is pointed at one of the sturdy walls, just so it doesn't go like up into the air and maybe clink somebody in like the distance. Again.
Yeah. It like there's definitely enough space in the area here, and there's nobody else presently using the room. So it like clatters against one of the walls and falls down. He seems just right. So you've used this to make magic using these things you've made. So you imbue them like enchanting.
Almost, yes, but it's not as in-depth magically as enchanting.
I can see that. Interesting, then. Artificing, you call this, eh?
Yes, that's what Par called it, so that's what I call it.
It's like field enchanting, one would say, almost. Never seen anything quite like it.
Well, you see a bunch of it now, and I just sort of hold out my arms and stuff because, like, all like the little components, like my gloves have little things on it, and even the shield has stuff sort of built onto it.
You see, he takes out like a small set of spectacles that he puts on the bridge of his huge nose, and he kind of like leans down and looks at it. And he, again, like sort of has his pipe kind of just stuck in his teeth, and every now and then puffs a bit of smoke out his nose and continues to sort of look over everything. Roll me an Arcanum check.
Arcanum.
$19. Okay, so the glasses that he's wearing allow him to identify magic items, and allows him to like detect and see magical fields and other things like that. As you can like just from the front side of the glass, you're not seeing anything, but against his eyes, you're catching like a reflection of a lot of like data and stuff that's being fed to him. And he's kind of just sort of examining over and seeing how everything works.
Zax will kind of point to them and say, "Hey, mine do that," and he points to his own goggles.
And he kind of like looks up at your goggles and squints and sort of examines those for a moment. He goes, "Aye. So you've made all these?
Yes.
You did.
Yep.
You
well,
made them.
aside from like the spider mount, yeah.
Yeah, because he's been riding around on this thing all like the whole time.
Not since I've been in this city, like working on stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the spider mount has been in the town, and he asks actually if you would be comfortable allowing him to just look at the spider mount.
As long as it's all right with it, I'm sure it'd be fine.
All right, and he with that goes with you out to like the main city area where your spider mount has been kept, sort of in an area not unlike stables.
But before we go out, I'll ask about that component pouch again.
Oh yeah, no, he like it just kind of like snaps his fingers. Right, of course. Sort of like rummages around in his pockets a little bit before producing like a small whistle that he blows on, which appears to produce no sound whatsoever. And then after a moment, an intern basically comes sprinting up, holding a component pouch. And he just kind of like gestures his head towards you, and the apprentice kind of like frowns confused, looks at you and goes, all right, and kind of hands you the component pouch. And he like
thank you. I was expecting to pay for this.
Shrugs back at Steel Cap like, why are we giving a goblin a component pouch? And he just like shakes his head at him like, don't ask. And the guy shrugs and leaves. But yeah, you guys head out to the stables to where your spider mount is being kept. Oh yeah, that thing's gonna be where it is. Bam. So we'll just get that there so folks at home can see. You got a little spider mount. And as you see it, it's happy to see you, and it like makes its usual noises.
Azzy, how are they treating you? Well, we'll make sure it remains good.
But yeah, you see again, like he furrows his brows. Steelcap walks a slow circle around the mech with his spectacles down. His eyes more focused, almost ferocious as he's making the little round. Eventually making his way back around to the front side of it, and then he looks at you and he goes, "So creations of sufficient size, such as this one, are operated on a core."
Yeah, just like my own homunculus, and it has since shrunk back down and gone back onto my shoulders at this point. This uses a core as well. If as he ever gets destroyed, or hopefully not, because I like him way too much. But if I take his core back to my master Par, he can remake him.
So it is a golem then. He kind of like runs his fingers down his beard. It's very golem in their design. They have a core, they have sentience, they have some degree of agency as they're created and whatnot. And if they're destroyed, if you retrieve the core and you bring it back, then it'll power and run the next construct, as it were.
Yes.
Interesting. He puffs his pipe a little bit more and goes, And this is artificing then, eh?
This is artificing.
It's a mixture of enchanting and golemancy, but all very... I don't want to say cheap. He like looks at you. It's all very... Well, I mean, it's not rudimentary. It's golemancy and enchanting. It's very sophisticated stuff, but you're finding sort of shortcuts in such a way that does make it more rudimentary in its execution. But at the end of the day, you're still getting your results, right? You know, fire is still a fire at the end of the day.
Yep.
Huh. And he kind of like raises his eyebrows and nods and goes,
Interesting. Interesting to say the least.
"Well, I'll leave you to it then." And he gives you a bow and makes his way off.
All right, thanks.
He waves to you as he leaves.
That's all I needed. I was just looking for a component pouch.
Yeah. And so, as the weeks go on with you guys here, as I was saying, production eventually does move its way down to the docks. A lot of the parts are machined. They start moving them down there. You see, slowly over another week or so, they start assembling the general body of what appears to be this large ship. Mostly it's made from metal. You see that there's still wood in its construction on the deck areas, but it's very large and blocky. It's got a huge dwarven face on the front of it. You see there's the anchors there. They bring in 2 of their larger cannons for the front and back of the ship, as well as getting some of their smaller artillery that they have fixed into the sides. You can see also there's like the water wheels on the sides of it and the big chimneys that come out the top. The helm appears to be closer to the front of the actual ship itself.
So this is this still in production? Like,
it is still being made, yes.
Okay.
Eventually, as time goes on, as you guys like the parts are being brought down and riveted into place, a lot of the ceiling is being done, a lot of the the frame and the body work is being done. Though after a little bit, Garrick comes to you guys and looks a bit distressed.
I look at Garrick, saying like, "What?"
Like, what up, Chief?
Yeah.
He says, well, there appears to be a small design issue with regards to, well, not necessarily a problem, but I don't want to say oversight. Either way, this ship will float. It does run. It is armored. We will be able to defend ourselves in the event of an attack. So that's good. Downside is this. we're not sure how to run the engines. We could go with your standard core.
I had an idea about that.
Really? What's
Yes.
that then?
Zax.
Zax like pokes his head out from wherever he's working at the time.
How do you make the Gobwalker move?
Oh, I don't. It's powered by a gem.
How can we make this ship powered that way?
Oh. That would take probably a
Your roll an Arcana check?
Oh boy.
13. I mean, in theory, like,
Zax is working in theory now because he definitely doesn't know for sure if it could be.
yeah, because like the core that runs your homunculi is a gem.
Yep.
And the core that runs the Gobwalker is a gem. It's just bigger. It's more sophisticated.
It's just a larger gem.
Yeah, it's a larger gem. It's got a larger force of arcane energy that's been bound into it. There's like the inscriptions that are on it are more sophisticated. Its binding and containment is more sophisticated. And I mean, you think that it's possible?
The way that I see it is that a boat is significantly less complicated than the Gobwalker.
Well, that's true, but depending on if they were running on traditional flame engines, you could just make a big core and have someone cast heat metal.
Would it be better if it was multiple smaller cores?
Possibly, yes, but I'm not sure if the people here, considering the kind of ways that I would create a homunculus, I can only do the one.
There's
I'm
an
gonna
entire group of engineers and an entire group of wizards that could absolutely help with that.
I was gonna say,
around town.
Max, you remember when you were in the Arcanists Academy talking to Steelcap? You recall that huge fucking red gem in that room.
Yep.
And you see, Garrick is kind of like looking between you. I was going to ask if you wanted to go based on oil or coal or wood. But now you talk about putting magic in this.
Oil or coal or wood would produce massive plumes of smoke.
Ah, that's what the chimneys are for. He points to the chimneys at the top.
In this situation, there wouldn't need to be chimneys. There wouldn't need to be these massive blanketing clouds that signal where you are as you move.
Though I think that
He kind of strokes his beard a little bit quietly, kind of like looking at the designs that he's got, like the paper that's in front of him. And
though I think that getting rid of them entirely would be a poor decision, because what if the event happens where it, for example, is powered by these crystals, these half homunculi, I suppose, and for whatever reason they fail.
Are there vents or like sluices in your machine, is in the Gobwalker, for that exact scenario?
No, because the Gobwalker itself was entirely constructed around the crystal. The crystal is its only power source.
Right. So
Not
if
to say, of course, that engineering doesn't come with its own dangers.
and you see, sort of standing in the doorway near where you guys are, is Steelcap from the Arcanists Academy.
I immediately affix my gaze to this individual who fucking interrupted me.
Yeah. And he's kind of like leaning against the side of the door, and he's got his pipe in his mouth. He raises his hand, and he says, "My apologies to interrupt. I didn't mean to make any offense. But I've been thinking a great deal about what you'd said to me, and about the way you've been constructing things, little Gobi."
Thank you.
Floop also waddles in and waits for her turn to speak because she also has idea.
And he goes, "Aye, from what I can tell, if we build the right containment, and we use the right gem with the right spirit, we may be able to power your ship on something a bit more sophisticated than combustion." And you see Garrick, like, just got his face twisted, just the ugliest frown you've ever seen. And he's just like, "What assurance do we have that it's not going to blow up in our face?" And he goes, "Well, the same assurance you have that your steam baths and everything else don't explode and destroy us all."
I have made the decision that we are going to use both engineering and magic of dwarven kind with the aid of the people in this group to power this ship.
This is gonna be an interesting time. You see it like Steelcap kind of like smiling at the prospect of working on a new project, and Garrick looks fucking nettled, but like kind of throws his hands in the air and goes, "Fine." And he like takes out another sheet of paper, puts it over top of his designs, and starts like, you know, sketching in certain things, and goes, "You," and he points over at Steelcap and goes, "You're gonna help me figure out how to fit your bullshit into my machine." And he goes, "I know, we'll send some folks down to your fucking tinker pit and we'll figure it out." they kind of like at each other a little bit.
I don't care what language you use with each other. You are going to work together. You are going to be amicable. And you are going to learn from each other.
Roll me a persuasion or intimidation, your choice.
Zax is hiding his giddiness at the prospect of both of them actually working together.
You say persuasion or intimidation?
Yeah, you pick.
I'm gonna pick the one I actually have.
Intimidation, yeah. 19, yeah. No, so with that, you feel a little bit of the steam in the room die down between the two of them, and they both kind of, all right. And, you know, Steelcap goes, "Right, well, I do apologize if maybe I've been a bit unfair. If we're going to be working on this project together, the least we can do is be kind, aye?" And Garrick's like, "Fine." Like throws his hands in the air and goes, "Fine.
I know nothing of boats and ships.
Yeah.
But I have seen these mechanical, magical creations work. And if you want to show the world the strength of dwarven creation, you will show it in this."
And they just kind of like, they both nod and sort of sit about, and then Garrett goes, "I'll see you in the workshop tomorrow at bright and early then." And Steelcap goes, "I suppose you will." And he nods and gives everybody a wave and turns to leave.
Well, Floop kind of looks down because everything was like resolved before she put her input into it, so she just like waddles away with her bucket.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Garrick definitely looks a little distressed at this, and just,
"It's never been done. Not to this scale. I mean, the most we get with engineers and arcanists working together is like the lights around town. or maybe some of the baths or things like that, but even then, they use geothermal to heat most of the things, and it's all engineering that fills in the gaps. Magic and engineering working together is not something that's often been done. Both because it's not really things that work well together, and because the two groups don't get along.
It doesn't matter if you get along. You have to work together.
Well, think of it this way. If it does work, you'll be making history in a lot more ways than you thought.
Aye, and he kind of nods. I'm hoping we can make history in a way that's good and not, immediately lethal. He kind of offers like a small grin.
Floop gently pats Garrick's back in a comforting way.
He gives you a pat on the head. He gives you head pats.
Y'all, okay, he takes poison damage.
He's got gloves on. It's fine.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Stop trying to stop the goop pairing. It's gonna happen.
I'm not.
Magic. Yeah. And so, as the next days begin, Steelcap makes his way down the next morning with a group of a few magisters with him, Arcanists, that range from being at least like one other elderly gentleman like himself. The rest of the members of his group are all apprentices. Like they're all like up and coming young go-getter types. Like they're very ambitious, very excited to be working on a project. And he talks about how, like, he brought these people instead of, some of the more practiced magicians, because he wanted people that would be more excited to solve problems and work on this project than people who would have their feet stuck in the mud somewhere.
People open to a little bit of leeway to see how things might be better.
Exactly. Like, they're not as practiced and they're not as good a mages as they have to offer, but they are more open-minded than some that work there. In this, it is formed a new guild. This project then begins the begrudging beginning and possibly the violent end of what is referred to as the Magitek Guild.
Yes.
So the combination of magic and technology begins with this project. Steadily over the following weeks, they work on not only sort of like finishing out the hull and finishing out all of the other areas of the ship, but also designing and building a core system that works inside the belly of the ship. And where do we got for that? We got some sounds. There we go. So they look to use a large core, or at the very least, to create one. A core that is of a gem that holds a fire spirit that will be able to sort of animate and power the ship itself. And it requires something of considerable magical strength in order to do this, because of the size and strength required by the ship, because it's not just a large machine, it's a large machine that's running at sea. So it needs to be strong in two separate ways. So they're looking at considering as they sort of like build the containment unit, a lot of the engineers talk about like different ways of bleeding the heat out and using the external metal parts of the hull to act as a coolant system, using like conducting rods and stuff like that to bring the heat out and away from it, past and through the ship without like hitting any vital systems, or like without boiling your crew alive in their quarters or other things like that. They also look at, using arcane magics to sort of like reinforce a lot of the containment unit that they're building for the gem itself. Some of the engineers actually bring note to Zax, your like homunculi that you have with you. They talk about how like, the magic induction is used through a lot of the similar metals and stuff like that they use for temperature and electrical induction down in their systems. and that it could be used in a similar sense to sort of like use the magic to move certain parts and to animate certain pieces of the ship if need be.
Zex would like make sure that whatever they do to have automation on their ship, make sure it can also be switched to manual, just in case, especially with like the boiler. If something goes wrong and you need to switch everything to manual, you can do that so that you're not stranded out in the water.
Yeah. With the size of the ship, there isn't a way for them to have both engines.
Okay.
They can run it off of an arcane core, which means that it'll just run. Or they can run it off of a combustion engine, like a steam ship.
Okay.
So it's one or the other, really, how they have it. And with the use of the magical core, they won't have to worry about fuel. So you won't have to worry about like, you know, oil or coal or wood storage anywhere aboard the ship, which was going to take up a considerable portion of the ship below. Some adjustments are being made to the hull to accommodate for the fact that there isn't going to be a gigantic weight somewhere in the belly of the ship. They don't have to worry about armoring certain areas around there either, because they don't have to worry about, like, you know, if they get hit or if that area gets cracked, that, you know, the fuel's going to leak and potentially explode, depending. But a lot of those resources are then like retasked to containment of the jewel. So yeah, as that goes on, eventually they you know, kind of like math out what they're going to do, and they run it by the king, and the king signs off on getting you guys a gem.
Floop might also offer some input on the gem.
Oh, yeah?
If the gem is the thing that is gonna generate heat to power the boat, she would suggest that mages and other type of magic casters could be on standby to cast something like water sphere or something like that if something was to go wrong.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely thrilled to show you the coolant systems that they have in place, that the heat of the gem itself is not what's going to be powering the ship, so much as like the magic from it will sort of like through an arcane sense animate the wheels on the ship to have it move. So it'll be a Magitek engine, but the additional heat that's produced by it will be sort of through a series of cooling rods, like expunged to the hull of the ship, which will then be put out to sea effectively. Like the ocean will act as coolant for the core. Because the ocean's fucking cold, as it turns out.
Is it a good idea?
But Floop would still like to have a couple of mages able to do that in case something malfunctions, because it is a first draft.
Oh, of course, they absolutely consider with that the idea of having mages on the crew to act as, like, you know, maintenance for the gem itself. So if anything goes wrong, they can help.
One potential good thing to add is emergency masts for sails in case something goes wrong, because that wouldn't require any kind of boilers or anything like that, and fabric folds up.
With the weight of the ship that they're building, it doesn't look like sails or even oars would be ideal for moving the ship should it run out of fuel or should something happen to the propulsion.
Ideal, no, but better some movement than none.
All right, well, they consider.
A suggestion I have.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of one large core, can you make it multiple smaller ones in the event that it needs to be replaced? It would be much harder to find a giant core again than a smaller one. Or would that
Through
work?
a series of what appears to be a lot of magical gobbledygook, they explain to you that, like, through a lot of, like, magical gibberish, that the system wouldn't be able to withstand it. That, like, the load of the mechanics that's requires one big gem as opposed to a series of smaller ones. That, like, if they did build a system or an engine that was powered by like a bunch of smaller arcane cores, if one of them failed, it would cascade fail and crush the rest of them through the weight.
But
even if they built in like redundancies and stuff like that.
But it would
if one
be
of them
easier
went,
to
all of them would go.
replace 6 small ones instead of 1 giant one.
Steel Cap gives you like a like hand gesture, like that's a.
It was a
you
thought.
know, it's
I am not.
yeah. No, it's a good thought. But like they kind of like run it over, and they're like, it would be pretty much the same running it on a series of smaller ones than it would be just running it on a big gem. It's even easier running it on a singular big one because then the mechanics can be built around the singular core, and it'll be a lot more stable. But as you said, if that gem fails, then the ship is dead in the water. They do consider, though, creating a series of like away ships, I'm missing the word here, lifeboats, like rowboats, effectively, but they're like smaller. They're made from also largely metal, and they have like a smaller engine built into them that is not necessarily its own arcane core, but like a battery, effectively, that holds energy in the meantime, so that if something happens to the core, you guys can just initiate these smaller ships and abandon it if you need to.
Yeah, I know.
And then
Shoot the
return
worst
to
out.
it later.
I know some about magic, I know little about enchanting, and I know nothing about engineering.
Yeah. They're all just kind of like standing around, and you'll like on occasion over the weeks you'll see like an engineer go like, oh, but what if we did this? Like, what if? And like they kind of like draws up a schematic, and one of the mages would be like, no, you can't do that. That will tear open a hole in reality, and it can't be that shape. It needs to be this shape. And they're just like, oh, fucking magic, whatever. And then you'll see also inversely like the mages will be like, oh, but what if we just found a way to make the heat go out to the ocean, like through things like this? And the engineer's like, yeah, if you want to boil your crew alive, fine, but like if you want to do it safe, then we need to do it like this, and and they kind of like they sort of like check and balance each other back and forth with the design, and it definitely gets moved around a lot with how they're going to implement the propulsion system, but eventually it comes down to like, okay, with these specifications, with these calculations, we can absolutely put this crystal into the system. And on that, then Steel Cap goes, right, well, with that, then we have the next step in what we need to do here. We've been requisitioned by the Crown a gem of sufficient size to hold an elemental of sufficient strength to power this ship. More than enough, really. We'll have energy to spare as we're sailing about. Just one snag is we don't have yet the elemental. We need to summon that and subjugate it into the gem.
What would that take?
Raises her head and she's like, I can summon an elemental.
You can what? And he like raises eyebrows and like leans down to you.
I can summon an elemental.
How big we talking here?
I never tried it. But I know I can.
He goes, well, he's like kind of scratches his beard a little bit.
They need one of their own, though.
Well, and also it's going to be considerably larger. The ones that they're going to be.
No, Vrail says
bringing.
that to Flute.
Yeah, he goes, well, we've got a whole process, you see. There's a whole space that we use for the summoning, and we've already calculated out how large it needs to be to fill the gem, and all the measurements and everything to make sure it fits well within the machine. So we would like, if you would be so kind, as to assist us in the subjugation.
Okay.
What would that entail?
Well, just fighting it down after we summoned it in, that's all.
Easily.
Typically, when you summon in an elemental and it is defeated, it gets banished back to its own realm.
What we do, though, is we create sort of a net to catch it before it goes back to its realm and to encase it within the gem. So we just need to beat it down, that's all. If that is agreeable with everyone, eh?
I agree.
Okay.
Good! And he claps his hands together and goes, right, so tomorrow, bright and early, come by the Arcanists and we'll get this done then, eh? This will be our area of expertise. And he sort of beams a little bit and waddles off. No, Kara, you can imagine that because they have to fight them in, the elementals are not entirely happy about being contained. And with that, you guys, is there anything you guys do between today and tomorrow before you guys go to the Arcanists to contain this elemental?
Floop would like to get herself a bow and arrows because the spell casting does not work the same in the 5th edition, and I cannot cast more than one spell per turn, and it reduces my ability to do anything.
It's true.
Yep.
In some cases, yes.
Spell
What kind of
one
bow and arrow
cantrip.
were you looking for?
Pretty much anything that can allow me to at least do a tiny bit of damage while I cannot cast.
Just
Like a
about-
hand crossbow? Some of them can be shot offhand, and some of them can be shot as like bonus actions. I think if you have certain, well, you need certain things for it though.
That's why I'm lost here. I'm very new to all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you have to have free hands in order to cast magic.
Yeah.
Or a spell focus.
I have my focus. I have my my oddly well preserved piece of kelp. That's my focus.
In order to
That's
use
right.
a regular bow, you would need both hands. So you would not be able to use both your focus and a regular bow. You would require a crossbow because they are one-handed.
Yeah.
Okay.
A hand crossbow can
Yeah,
be used in that
unless
space.
unless you have the feat Warcaster. Then you can have like both hands occupied and still cast magic.
Yeah.
I don't have that, so I
Yeah,
will
no.
probably need a crossbow.
Yeah, let's see if we go just gonna look this up. Hand crossbow. Here we go. Yeah, it's piercing, standard, does a d6 damage. Yeah, you can use this weapon, has ammunition property, if you use this thing, blah blah blah. Cool.
Yeah, hand crossbow is in the compendium. You should just be able to drag and drop one onto your sheet.
Yeah. It is a light weapon. It requires loading and stuff if you don't have like proficiency in it because it is a martial weapon. And as a druid, you might not have proficiency in martial weapons.
No, I don't think I have that.
Or crossbow
so, like,
specifically.
You can use it, you just can't add proficiency to it, and it requires the use of, I believe reloading it requires either a free action or a full action, depending. Because you can take feats and stuff like that that'll help you sort of deal with that to make it go faster, so you can shoot faster.
Yeah.
Well, if I had a crossbow that would not like require to be reloaded, like
Yeah.
magical crossbow that goes pew pew, that would be nice.
I mean,
Yeah, well,
you
we
could
could
also
see like
get a stick, cast shillelagh on it, and hit things.
and bonk with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, bonk is absolutely an option.
Yeah.
Straight up bonk. And casting shillelagh makes it a magic club.
Yep.
So that works very well. With that though, as you guys head out for the evening, and Floop, you look for some means by which to do a little bit of extra damage during combat, we're gonna call it for today.
Ah.
And we will say yeah as it's pulling up on 10 o'clock. And I did not think about you guys fighting a fire elemental, and I will need to stat that out for you.
That's fair. Yeah, so we're an hour early in the sense of time, length of time, but
Yeah. We usually go like another hour,
we
because
usually
it's
go
like
3
2
hours.
hours and 20 minutes is where we're at. We usually go like 3-ish hours and maybe a little more.
But
Just
yeah.
gonna use them once per turn if you have multi-attack features. Oh, okay,
But it'll
yeah.
take longer. It would take longer than a half an hour to do the combat, and it's not even prepped. So.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
So I don't wanna rush any more than I have. But grats, you guys.
Woo.
You guys are getting along.
Yeah.
So next game's gonna be a little more exciting, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much
This is
for
exciting.
coming up and playing.
Yeah.
I thought this was
Um,
exciting.
Yeah,
anyways.
I always worry that
I
I'm like,
demanded
I don't
that.
know if it's good.
I demanded that 2 guilds work together in a traditionalist culture,
And
Yeah.
that sparked
and
it.
it worked.
Yeah, we got Zax and Vrail making like a new Magitek Guild. Floop and Sices are buying groceries and bringing peace between warring bakeries.
Hell yeah. That's what I wanted.
My chat's
Yeah, Keeper's making some fancy booze. This is a good time.
my chat's
Feels
asking
great.
if we level up from this.
Yeah, you guys are level 7 still, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if we do level up, I will let you guys know.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
both groups level up at the same time, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
groups level up simultaneously whenever one or the other reaches a large milestone.
A team. And B team.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming up out for the game. Thank you to
Yeah.
our wonderful players here. Going down the list, of course, we've got Cassie D20 Love Chew playing Sices Blue Leaf.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming out. I love you. Be good to each other and be good to yourselves.
Yeah, we got Spooty Poots playing N Rail Low, our paladin, who is a UNT.
And also streaming. And also thank you to our dungeon master, Dr. Terawatt.
Ah,
Yay! Thank
Thank
you.
you. And thanks to KC, who's playing our frog person, our grung druid Floop.
Sufasmus. Wow.
And thank you to Warden, who's playing our Thrycreen monk keeper.
I have discovered a new recipe.
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 Boots my poots. Yeah, that's right. And of course, big thanks to as well Shaskar for playing Zax, our goblin artificer.
It's great to be back. It's great to be back, and now I've created a new guild. What have I done?
what have I done? And thank you as well to all of you lovely people that are watching us here, both at our community and at Spooty Poots' stream, for all your views and your donations, all your bits and subscriptions. Thank you all so much
help out so much.
for supporting us here. We would not be able to put on these shows without your support. Thank you again. And until next time, I'm your kind of benevolent, hopefully, DM Dr. Terawatt, is our Layer 5.0. We'll see you tomorrow on our next live stream.
And I'm Spoon Boots!
And I'm like.